Hey everyone, I'm Chris and I'm a fellow on the behavioral science team at AI. Thanks so much for joining today. I'm really excited to show you what I've been working on. I've been fortunate to have been a part of this team for almost a year now, and yeah, I'm just really excited to share the work that I've helped on during my time here. So, tailoring is kind of an underlying idea that has driven a lot of the work that I've helped on during my time here. And tailoring is a method of communication where information about someone is used to give specific, personalized, and relevant information to that person. Its goal is to make the message more relevant to the recipient and then hopefully make them more receptive to the content of the message. It does this primarily through influencing the way that recipients process the message, and it aims to increase the impact of the message as well. Many studies, specifically in health communications, have demonstrated the effectiveness of tailored messages when compared to non-tailored messages, and I'll show some examples of this in the next slide. In this case, effectiveness means making the recipient more likely to accept the message and also hopefully translate that into behavioral changes. So this slide demonstrates tailored message effectiveness compared to non-tailored messages, and in the context of health in this example, as you see, tailored messages showed a lot more engagement with the message, more attention of the content of the message. Users were much more likely to discuss the ideas with others, and it also resulted in more concrete changes in their diet, shown in the last row. So overall, really promising results, and that's kind of why people on my team had the idea to use tailoring in the context of helping students. So these are some really basic examples of tailoring that I'm sure all of you have experienced yourselves. These are just some screenshots of emails that a lot of people get where it fills in your name at the header of the message to grab your attention. The tailoring that we do is a lot more complex, as I'll show you in the examples later on, but I just kind of want to give you an idea of some really basic examples that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. So tailoring goals are achieved in a couple main ways. First is personalization of messages. So this could be explicit or implicit. Explicit could be something like in the last slides where it says your name, or even just addressing some information that they gave us beforehand. So you told us X earlier would be an example of that. And then feedback and content matching are also really important. Feedback basically takes information that they gave us and then compares it to current information. And content matching is where we select the content of the message to match what the recipient would benefit from the most. So an example of this could be, say at the beginning of the semester, a student filled out our survey and they said their goal is to get an A in the class. A simple tailored message using these concepts would look something like, you told us your goal is to get an A in this class. Right now you have a B+. You have room to improve on your quiz grades, and here are some tips that would really help you get your quiz grades up, which would help you achieve your goal of getting an A in the class. And I'll show you some more detailed examples of this. So three kind of main areas that I've worked on tailoring on the team is through message writing and eCoach, where eCoach is basically a tool to help students in large introductory courses do well in the course by giving them personalized help throughout the semester. And I spent a lot of time writing messages for eCoach combining behavioral science topics with education to help students in these courses. So topics included things like study habits, attitudes, test anxiety, and other things. We used information from the beginning of term survey that all students filled out as a frame of reference for the personalization of these messages. And then Tandem lessons I also helped with. Tandem is a software focused on helping teamwork and making sure group work is successful. There's lessons that I helped with on conflict, giving and receiving feedback, and some more topics just to kind of help group dynamics. And then finally, we also tailored emails for reminders of assignments or giving summaries of lessons that students completed in Tandem, and I'll show some examples of those. So this first example is from an eCoach message about cramming. The goal of the message is to get students to avoid cramming because there's a lot of research showing that distributing your studying throughout a longer period of time is a much more effective way to retain information than cramming is. So in this example, someone who sees this message said that a motivator in the class is that they're interested in the material. So we use personalization to address the fact that that's a motivator for them and that they might want to know the material after the class since they're interested in it. Feedback is that if they're currently cramming, they're probably not on the right path towards retaining information after the class is over. And then finally, content matching is telling them how they can change their habits to better retain the information after the class ends. This is an example from the same message, but later on, where we'd ask students, what do you think is causing you to need to cram? This response would be for someone who said that they need to cram because they're struggling with timing and balancing everything in their life. It gives them feedback based on that struggle, and then gives several concrete tips for content matching on how they might improve that situation. This example is from Tandem. So this message gives students personalized feedback on how to deal with team conflict based on responses that they gave to the beginning of term survey based on their work habits or goals they said. So in this example, someone who sees this message would have chosen that their biggest goal in the class is just to get a good grade. So we address this, tell them how conflict might arise on their team if other people have different goals beyond just getting a good grade, and then we give them suggestions on how to deal with a possible conflict on the team based on these differences in goals. This example is from a lesson that students do where they pick a rose, something positive that's happened to them recently, a thorn, which is a challenge they've faced, and then a bud, something they're excited about. So this is just after they complete this activity in Tandem, they'll get an email showing a summary of their results, with the goal being to solidify that message and kind of get them to think again about it and reiterate what they've said. So the last step in this tailoring process is to add all of the content into MTS, which is Michigan Tailoring System. And this is where the logic is decided, so kind of the technical aspect of showing certain students certain messaging. So this picture shows that people will get a different block of messages here depending on their responses. So this block might be for someone who has said that they have maybe some social fear or self-doubt, maybe an introvert. Shows their name, and then it's acknowledging how they feel and telling them that the lesson contains strategies to help them with their fears or worries. And it's the same in these different examples with maybe someone who prefers to work alone, and someone who is maybe controlling and maybe struggle to give up certain things on their team. So yeah, overall, I've definitely learned a lot in this role, and I'm really grateful for the opportunities that I've gotten here, both at academic innovation as a whole and on the behavioral science team. The main thing I've learned is just how much behavioral science can be used in an educational setting to help students achieve their goals. And that's one thing that I really like about working here, is that it feels like the work is really being used for good and hopefully helping the students who use our software. I've also gained a lot of really valuable writing experience, and I've definitely become a better writer over this time. Learned, how to keep things simple and keep the reader in mind, and hopefully make the messages as accessible and digestible as possible. I'm also really grateful that I've gotten a lot of experience in other areas like UX research or developing the content for these messages as well, not just tailoring them, but I've also been able to help with different teach-outs that academic innovation puts on about different really relevant real-world topics and other types of writing as well. So yeah, overall, really grateful for the opportunities I've gotten here, and really thankful that you've taken the time to listen to today. So yeah, thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.